Happy New Year. I'll now call to order the January 2024 meeting of the Oxford Planning Commission. Commissioners, you have the agenda before you. Do we have any changes or additions to the agenda?
No, sir.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes from the December meeting? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Ben, is there a staff report today?
Just wanted to bring to your attention that before you is an early analysis of the Planning Commission cases from last year. Wanted to put it in front of you so that way you could at least begin reviewing it. We'll take a deeper dive into it at next month's staff report.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
All right. Are there any changes or cases to remove from the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that takes us to our first public hearing, which will be for case number 3030. Let the record show that Commissioner Milam is recusing himself. This case is for 9th Street LLC, filing a request for preliminary and final subdivision plat for 805 University Place subdivision for property located at 805 and 803 University Avenue. Robert?
Okay, the subject property is located on University Avenue, roughly north of the intersection with South 8th Street, and is about 0.88 acres. The applicant has proposed this two-lot subdivision to separate the Nick Duval house, which would be about 0.42 acres, from a lot with a proposed two-unit RCID, 0.46 acres, and that'll be the upcoming special exception variance and site plan. Can you speak up, please? Okay, that's about all I got. Can we bump the mic at all? IT. Yeah. The proposed lots comply with the minimum lot size, frontage requirements, and would not make the Meek Duval house non-conforming with the requirements of the Land Development Code in regards to frontage, setbacks, coverage, and other lot standards. Engineering does have some comments, but they're technical in nature and should be easily satisfied prior to this case being heard by the board. Other comments regard site development and access, water, sewer, and utilities, and stormwater management. For this, staff recommends approval of the requested preliminary and final plat for 805 University Place subdivision with the 7 conditions that are listed in the staff report. And Jeff is here if y'all have any questions from the engineer. We have received some letters from the public, both mostly against this. That also will go for the next 2 requests as well.
Thank you, Robert. So we've got, for the commission, we've got 3 cases, 3030, 3008, and 3031, that are all related to the same property. This is for the plat for the subdivision of the property. And then we also have a variance to consider and a special exception for districts permitted, and then the site plan, assuming those things are approved. Go ahead.
Jeff Williams from Williams Engineering Consultants. The subdivision plats put together. Some of the questions, some of the conditions have already been met as far as utilities. There was an easement for an existing utility that crossed this lot going into the lot 1 that would be created. That's been taken care of. There are no other easements that we can find on the property. The other conditions, I think, were basically concerning some CID documents that will handle the cross-access between Lot 2 and the adjoining condos. The stormwater, the site plan has the stormwater on it, but I think I failed to put some notes on there that were on the site plan for stormwater. So I've added those.
Okay. All right, are there any questions from the commission for the applicant? All right. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak on this case? And I'll just point out that we're going to hear each of these separately. So we're hearing the subdivision plat currently. Anyone's welcome to speak on the subdivision plat, or you can wait to speak on the variance, special exception, or the site plan for the same property. Is there anybody that would like to speak on the subdivision? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion on case number 3030?
I'd move that we accept the preliminary and final plat for 805 University Place subdivision.
All right. There is a motion to, and just for clarification, this is a recommendation to the mayor and board of aldermen because it's subdivision. There's a motion to recommend approval of the subdivision plat. Is there a second?
For clarification, that's with staff conditions.
I'm sorry.
That's with the staff conditions.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Subject to staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor? Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
This is case 3030.
Yes. All right.
How did you vote?
I think it was all four. Yeah. All right, that takes us to case number 3008 for the same property. 9th Street LLC has filed a request, and this will have two parts: a variance from section 5.8.4.10 Neighborhood Conservation Overlay Design Standards, bedrooms allowed, and B, a special exception is provided in section 3.5.8.2 RCID districts permitted for property located at 803 University Avenue. Robert?
Okay, and so this is back to the same property. Applicant is proposing to construct two new detached dwelling units on the eastern portion of the lot from the Meek Duval house. Site plan and the previous plat have been received and are subject of the next case. Complimentary review was heard by the Historic Preservation Commission on August 21st, 23, and any new construction of the historic district will require COA from HPC. For the first request, a variance from the design standards number of bedrooms allowed. This request is to allow the construction of 5 bedroom units in an NR district in the neighborhood conservation overlay. Section 5.8.4.10 limits multi-unit developments in the neighborhood residential in the conservation overlay to 3 bedrooms. Additionally, only 50% of units may have 3 bedrooms. The other 50% must be either 1 or 2 bedroom. Essentially, this request is for an additional 5 total bedrooms between the 2 units. Because density in the neighborhood residential and traditional neighborhood residential district is based on units an acre, without the provision in the NCO, there is very little way to regulate new housing with multiple bedrooms that could be marketed as rent by the bedroom. This provision was created in 2014. At the same time, the city was reconsidering many of its regulations about housing due to a major influx of purpose-built student housing. At that time, the provision applied only to attached units. This provision was then modified in 2017 with the comprehensive code update to also include all housing types in the neighborhood residential. The areas of the NCO that see new construction are generally either infill or rebuilds, and these areas generally do not have the infrastructure to accommodate multifamily units or single houses that, due to rental patterns, operate similar to multifamily. The applicant contends that 5 bedrooms are necessary to provide 2 units at a high enough price point to encourage a homeowner to purchase as opposed to use as a rental, and that larger units with more bedrooms would complement the existing house and would be similar in form and function to the houses on the south side of University. The applicant also raises the presence of the 2 units directly to the north, 710 and 712 Tyler. Together, these units occupy about 0.37 acres and appear to be 4-bedroom units. The applicant's proposal would be of a similar nature, except that due to the orientation of the land, the proposed units would be part of an RCID as opposed to fee simple lots. The applicant has expressly stated the desire to make the 2 proposed units available at a price point that would only be attractive to individual owners, which would ostensibly be the outcome that this provision of the code is looking to promote. If this parcel was located in a traditional suburban residential, or if this development proposal was brought prior to 2017, there would be a clear path forward for approval of these detached units. And while staff understands the applicant's logic, we can't recommend approval of this request due to a lack of hardship that is not created directly from the design choices that conflict with this specific provision of code. And as such, staff recommends denial of the requested variance. Should the Planning Commission wish to grant this request, staff recommends the conditions that approval is for plans substantively similar to the plan presented at complimentary review, and with whatever necessary site plan review committee revisions that are needed. And approval is contingent upon receipt of a COA from the Historic Preservation Commission. Do you want to proceed to?
Yeah, let's continue with the special exception, then we'll come back for discussion.
Okay, and then for the special exception, as provided in section 3582, it's RCID districts permitted. Residential common interest developments are special exceptions when proposed in the conservation overlay or in historic preservation district. In this case, both. The applicant is requesting a 2-unit RCID on a single lot in a proposed new subdivision. There are condo-style developments existing along University, including the property directly to the east, which is also owned by the applicant. And staff has no major concerns with this location for an RCID, so long as the COA is received for the Historic Preservation Commission. And staff recommends approval of the requested special exception to allow a 2-unit RCID with the finding that the granting of the special exception will not harm the public interest, with the 3 conditions that are stated in the staff report. Again, the applicant's engineer is here, and again, we have numerous letters against, and I believe a couple 4, do we have a couple 4 in this one? Not that we have received at this time, okay. I would like to note in one objection letter about the RCID, about this being a flag lot. This is not a flag lot. It is specifically not a flag lot because it's not a lot. It's, well, it is a single lot with 2 houses on it. That is why the RCID provision exists in some part, is to be able to give flexibility in places where inadequate frontage is not available. And so instead of having a flag lot, to have one of these 2 units, that's what the RCD request is for. And there are similar RCDs up and down University, all throughout the neighborhood conservation overlay as well. So,
Thank you, Robert. Would the applicant like to speak on this case?
Just here for any questions. I think Robert laid it out fairly well.
Okay. Just to clarify, we do have 2 requests embedded in this case with different requirements. There's a variance request, which is relief from the letter of the code, and there's a special exception, which is a use that is allowed within the code subject to approval from the Planning Commission. So different kinds of cases. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to speak? Yes, sir. Please come forward and state your name for the record.
My name is Mike Gartland. My wife and I and Lee live at 410 South 9th. We have the White House at the corner of Tyler and 9th that backs up to all of this. So we're the one that's we're downstream, as it were. I understand there's some hydrology experience on this commission. The stormwater issue is a huge issue. The RCID, in my opinion, is nothing more than a way to circumvent the flag lot issue. But if you know anything about Tyler Street, you know that the stormwater problem there isn't going to be resolved. There's a 24-inch pipe that they were working on today, because there's holes in it apparently, that comes down the playground side of the street, and that crosses the street and gathers up more water, and behind Ray Brown's house, next door neighbor, who also filed an objection, it chokes down to an 18-inch clay pipe behind a rent house. What happens is, and I saw Paul Precision was on the screen. I hired Precision. We did a lot of work to try to safeguard our house, put in a floodgate at the end of the driveway, built some pony walls around to keep the water out, put in our own retaining system to give our own water stored. But what happens is, if there's more, and Paul can pull his file and correct me if I'm wrong, as I understood it, if there's more than 2.5 inches of rain in an hour, all of a sudden the storm sewers start bubbling up, and then they lock. And then the street floods, our house floods, our house has flooded several times. I've been out there in 2 feet of water in front of that house. You know, I saw it was raining real hard earlier, and just I get sick to my stomach every time it rains hard around here because it's not getting fixed. And I understand there's all lots of reasons, so I try to protect myself, and Precision did a great job, and we, knock on wood, we haven't had a problem since they did their work. But it's not adding to that situation. I need the system burps after when the rain stops, an hour goes by, the storm sewers, you can hear an audible burp, and you can pretty much set your watch by it. It's about an hour. So if this stormwater retention program can't get me to the end of the rainstorm and an hour passed so that the system can clear itself, it's coming over the floodgate, and I'm flooded. And, you know, I really think this matter should have been continued, because we intend to hire hydrology experts. We think they're necessary. We've been asking for the engineering documents for months, and we still don't have the engineering documents. So there's no way for us to even do our due diligence. And I thought this would have been more appropriate to be continued to February or March. It's been continued twice already. I don't think it would be that big of a deal to go another, just enough time for us to do. I'm not a hydrologist, and you know, there's going to be people on this commission that are far more qualified as to what the problem is. I can just tell you, I need the storm to be over, and I need an hour to keep the house from flooding. And I think this RCID, this whole parking lot issue, and more surface space, and if you look more closely at it, it's not going west on University. They've got it going east on University, which comes right around the front of my house and back into my driveway, and we've only made the situation worse. And that's what I really think I would have thought this whole process was about, is not making the situation worse for me. Because unless I can get bought enough time for that storm sewer system, and I'm sure, no disrespect to Mr. Williams, but he's not modeled that I've been out there with a watch and can tell you when the system's going to burp, and you know, and when it finally lets go. It's just, I just don't think, I think it's premature, and I think this causes problems for us with regard to safety, and it diminishes the value of our property. Not to mention the flagpole lot issue, and if they're going to go with a parking lot, they need to comply with all the rules associated with a parking lot. Setbacks, retaining wall spacing, retaining wall heights. This drawing might look good in writing, but if you come down here, and I invite any one of y'all, come over to the house, you'll see for yourself, it doesn't work in reality. And so if we're modeling something that's not based in reality, it's doomed to fail, and we're going to be the primary people that get hurt by it. And so I would ask you to deny the RCID, not to mention the privacy issue. That parking lot is literally, I don't know, from here to the other end of the desk. And the first thing Mr. Albritton did when he comes in is he redirects the traffic flow. Even those units have been there for, I don't know, 40, 50 years probably. And the traffic always went towards University, so we'd see the taillights, worst case. Now, we're putting in a parking lot, and we're gonna route all the traffic directly at our primary bedroom, my primary bathroom, my kitchen, my guest room. I can't get up in the morning. I got to keep the drapes closed in the back of the house to go to the bathroom and make a cup of coffee in the morning in my boxers. And then he took out all of the screening between the two lots, and I anticipate that's what's going to happen again. And I just, you know, as appreciative of I am of Ben and Robert and Hollis and everything the city's done, I just think that there needs to be some consideration of the neighbors. And I know Ray Brown, I don't know if he's on the phone or not, but Ray shares he's the house right next door. His house is sort of the waterfall, he and Alan Crosswell's house, down into the rent house backyard. Because the stormwater system just doesn't work, and I could wrap my brain around it if it was getting routed someplace else, but it's getting routed right back to my house, and I just don't think that's right.
Yes, sir, thank you. Well, I appreciate the concern about the neighbors, and we saw your pictures that you included with your letter of objection, and I also went out there to look at the property. I think, you know, in the context of these cases, a lot of your comments are more related to the site plan. I'm not saying they're not all tied together in one. I mean, it's relevant to the RCID as well. But I think we'll consider whether to grant the variance and the special exception with your comments in place. And then when we get to the site plan, we may come back and talk more about stormwater, which gets into the particulars of routing and mitigation.
I'll tell you, my wife and I, we're thrilled that there's people on this commission that have hydrology experience, because this is a big problem.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Williams?
So I agree, a lot of site plan issues, but since it was brought up before you vote on this, I will say that I spent 6-8 weeks working with the city to ensure that we were meeting the stormwater requirements. And just as a visual, the total lot for lot number 2 is 20,037 square feet. As it sits right now, 11,422 square feet of that lot drains to the north directly on the properties that he's discussing. With the new design, with the retaining wall was put in specifically to meet the requirements of the stormwater to keep it from going to the north. After we designed this system, there's only 2,407 square feet that will now be going to the north. So it was 57% of this lot going to the north. Now only 12% will be going. So we reduced the flow going to the north by 12%. It was brought to my attention today that there was some concern about where the outlet was for our stormwater detention. I can easily correct that. If there's any concern about it going back to the east and then back down toward their lot, I can alleviate that. Everything will be going west. There will be much less water going to that site than there is now after construction is completed.
So you're saying it'd be going down University Avenue toward the
To the
university?
big box culvert, or the big crossing under.
Can I ask how that happens?
Pardon?
Can I ask how that happens?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh? Because you're going uphill.
No.
Where's the discharge?
The discharge point will be just to the west of the existing drive that goes into that empty lot. And I checked the shots this afternoon, so when it dumps in the curb, it will go west.
Additional questions?
Is there a reason why it can't be moved about 15 feet to the west where it all discharges to the west?
It will
I
all,
think that's what he's proposing.
that's what I'm,
All of it?
all of it.
So nothing would flow to the east
No.
to 9th?
Like I said, it was brought to my attention today, and I did a quick reroute of the discharge pipe to ensure that it goes to a point that everything will be downhill from it.
Now, there still remains about 12% of the overall lot that will go north.
Right.
But that's
All
just-
of the
that's
discharge from the
naturally
stormwater retention, or the
All the
stormwater detention will go.
will be going in the street and to the west.
Yeah, because
With
the
this
crest of the
new
hill.
layout,
is-
Bart, I apologize.
Right.
I meant to send that to you, but I did find a route for that.
Yes, sir.
I'll only go back to my original point.
Please come forward.
I think it's great that the developer gets to have his advocate and his engineer. I mean, I would love to have some time to get some professional help. If I could convince Precision to do it, but I know how busy Paul's been. But I just think it's not fair that I don't get the opportunity to do any due diligence on my own and have my own advocate. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I mean, yeah, so let's address these and then maybe we can come back to that in part with the site plan, okay? Because I think there are still issues with the stormwater to talk about on the site plan. So All right, so is there additional discussion on the variance to allow 5 bedrooms instead of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms? Or the special exception to allow the RCID development? Questions or comments from the commission or from the audience? Yes, sir?
The only, there's 4 elements. I've learned something about it. There's 4 elements to get.
For the variance, yes, sir.
I don't think they meet any of the 4 elements to get the variance. What I've seen in their papers is we can't make enough money. Well, I don't think we can't make enough money. Fits within the 4 elements that afford somebody a variance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh, yeah, please come forward. Please come forward and state your name for the record.
I'm William Lawhead. I live at 718 South 8th Street. I just want to say I served for many years on the Planning Commission. I appreciate the difficulty and the hard work that you do here. Even though I'm 2 blocks away, we consider University Avenue part of our neighborhood. And even more importantly, anytime you're considering a variance or a special exception, it affects everybody in Oxford. There's reasons why we have the zoning laws that we do, in part to protect our property values and our quality of life. And so we need to be really stingy and really careful about bending the zoning laws we have to make these exceptions or variances, because that just serves to soften the protections we have in place. And I'm concerned about the traffic. I wonder about access of fire engines. But more importantly, I think I'm skeptical that a single family with 5 persons would be interested in a house that's juxtaposed like 2 dominoes standing next to each other, in which there's no traditional front yard or backyard, and in which the families share the common grounds and the driveways. That's just not the kind of traditional home that this zoning was made for. And I worry, I don't care how much the house costs, there's a possibility that it will be filled with 3 students, or even more if the students are related to one another, and serve as a football house for the parents. And I just don't see this as a traditional family home that's being suggested. So I just urge caution about letting go of the laws that we have in place. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Does anyone currently live full-time in the McDuval house right now?
No. Thank you.
Is there a,
Yes, sir. Please come forward. You want to finish your question first? Okay. Please state your name for the record.
My name is David Flaught. I live here in Oxford. I'm an attorney. My wife's family, the Duval family, lived in that house from 1963 to 1998 when they sold it to the Doty family. And the Doty family sold it to John Albritton last year. I don't know if it was an LLC or what. At the time he sold it, you know, Mr. Albritton represented to the Dotys that he and his family intended to move in there. When they bought the house, there were no special exceptions. There were no multiple lots. He intended to live there in that property. You know, when he bought it, he knew he'd have to come before this commission. He'd have to spend a ton of money to develop that property. You know, when he buys it at his own risk. And I think Dr. Lawhead had a really good point there. You need to preserve and protect the communities that you have, the neighborhoods that you have. You grant these special exceptions and you open the doors to further mutilate all these historical wonderful homes and properties that line University Avenue, that line North and South Lamar, and other communities in Oxford. You know, exceptions and variances shouldn't be granted just openly. If they haven't met the qualifications, you've got a flag lot for one of the houses, you know, you've got flooding issues for the what used to be Colonel Hooper's house on Tyler Street. You've got the two houses, the back lots that the Doty sold off to Mr. Brown, and the other house adjacent to it. You know, all of the construction, 2 5-bedroom homes, that's incredible. You know, you're over-concentrating building in that historical district. I know they've been before the Historical Preservation Commission, but you need to be careful about the exceptions and the variances that you grant here.
Thank you, sir. Any additional comment or questions from the commission? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, please.
Hello, I didn't come here to plan to talk, I just wanted to listen. My name is Molly Meisenheimer, I've lived here 21 years. I live at 912 University Avenue, directly across from Oxford University Methodist Church parking lot. About 10 years ago, I was going through this because the lot next to me was sold. I came to all the planning commission meetings. The man stood up and said he was going to build 3 townhomes that look like old Oxford. If you pull in my driveway that I now have to share with them, and I like the people that live there, but there are 5 3-story homes. They're football homes for the most part. One is a permanent resident. Traffic is awful, not just football weekends, which it used to be, but with our success in sports and everything else in Oxford, it's impossible to get in and out of driveways. I love living in the historic district. I've wanted to feel protected. This has destroyed, what's built next to me has destroyed a lot of our privacy with 3-story homes. We have to change all of our landscaping. We have to cut down 16 trees to be able to get in and out of the driveway. So I'm not trusting of things that are said all the time. I'm an honest, good citizen. I want to follow the rules. I know some of you all, and I just think that you need to be really careful. This is getting a little out of hand. We, on that strip of University Avenue and the streets behind us, just don't have enough for this. We plan to live here the rest of our lives, many of us. Some of us have lived here all their life. And the traffic, hearing about the storm damage, storm drainage, I didn't know about. How are you going to get in and out of here on University Avenue? There's a red light, and my husband and I sit on our front porch on big weekends and watch the traffic, and it is horrendous. We choose to live there, and we can walk to church and other places, but don't destroy what those of us that pay our taxes and are good people that volunteer and do things in the community for this. There's got to be other land. Fix up the Doty house, make it beautiful. It's historic, it's so beautiful. I'm sorry, Duvall's, I still call it the Doty house because I know the Dotys who sold me we live in their house that they used to live in. That's when they bought that house. But there's a lot of us here that really care, and if the weather had been better, I had 20 or 30 other people that wanted to come. I just want y'all to listen to the citizens, and I think that knowing the character of many of you, you'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You were talking about how it looks like this house is in a hole. I'm looking here at Google Maps, and you said you have a way to route it to the street, but I'm looking at the McGartland house. If you just look right here, I don't see how that water's not gonna, once it's maxed out like he was talking about, how it's not gonna come back to there.
This is what it says now, this is the existing home. This is the top of the hill. This is where the house is in question to the north.
This is University right here.
Everything in green is currently going in this direction. Okay? Once it's developed, everything inside here will be captured in the storm drain system. The concern was the apple was here, that you're just gonna go back around the corner, and apple will be going out here, which will go west. So this existing yard will be undisturbed, and that's the 45% decrease in storm that we had.
So
So I'll have to build this up. That's the reason I added the wall, because I couldn't meet the stormwater requirements without capturing all it.
So if it discharges here, it's gonna go to the
What I'm
east.
saying is, I don't think
But
you
if it
can,
discharges here,
the hill crest right here. How can you go?
but it says it, right,
And then it's gonna flow back here.
no, the crest is along the frontage. It's,
I've run the elevation.
that corner is supposed to be on the downward side.
In here, according to the elevations, and I've moved the discharge here, and we're going to.
So just for the audience, the discussion is the previous point that if the stormwater discharge is at the east end of the property, it'll flow east on University and around 9th Street to Tyler. But the question is whether if it's discharged on the west end of the property, if it's beyond the crest of the hill and it'll flow west on University, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Is that a change since?
The design, the proposed design is a change, yes. The current design that we all saw is for it to discharge to the east of that big water oak tree. Yeah, exactly. And so the proposal and the stormwater design is not finalized yet, so anything we approve or not can be conditioned on final approval of the stormwater, which is very common. The proposal is that all of the discharge would be at the west end of the property so that it flows west down University. Yes, ma'am. Again, this is more for the site plan, but, all right. Are there any other questions on the variance or the special exception? Okay, Mr. Brown, please. You might be muted, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay, well, I didn't have any comments. I was just joining the meeting.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us. If you have any comments, feel free, you can indicate online or just speak up. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Let's start. Did you have any-
I was just gonna, I know that the price point's mentioned in here several times about the purpose of building 2 5-bedroom homes. One 6,000 plus square feet, and the other, I think it's 4,725. And they're stacked on each other. So the one that sits behind the one that's on the street, they don't have any street view because they're gonna be facing literally the back of the Duval house, the house in front of it, the parking lot to the condos that are owned by the applicant, and the back of the houses on Tyler and 9th. I'm trying to understand that purpose of building an additional 5-bedroom home that the money's not gonna be made that would be made on the house that faces the street.
I can't answer to the money and marketing. I'm strictly for the technical part. Owner may want to speak and speak to that, but as far as the pricing of the houses,
Sure.
I'm just not where I can speak to that.
I'll be happy to speak to that.
Please state your name.
John Albritton.
Thanks, sir.
The bedroom count and, so my understanding of the rule as it were they limited bedroom count in order to prevent rentals or to discourage, high density, multifamily type development. What we're designing are high-end homes. We're not designing anything that would even remotely make sense as an investment property or as a rental property. So I hope that was clear in what we presented, but to that point, the bedroom count is not if the community wants to see lower density, lower bedroom count, I would be agreeable to a lower bedroom count, and we could even, on the variance, we could even drop it entirely. I would make that concession and be willing to listen to my fellow citizens. I would like to address one additional point that was made by one of them. There was no misleading in my purchase from the Doties. I represented the fact that if my wife was agreeable to live in the house, the Doty property, that we would be honored to do so. And I had approached Mr. Doty on multiple occasions about an easement for additional parking, which he could also attest. But I just wanted to clear the air on that, because I don't like it being said that I misled someone, because I did not. But to the point on the bedroom count, we'd be really willing to make a concession on that. But we would, you know, like to pursue the RCID as it is. And if that required a scaled back second structure, so be it.
So just to clarify, I appreciate your comments, but just to clarify, there are two ways with the variance. One is we go ahead and vote one way or the other, but you still want to proceed either way it goes. The other way is that you withdraw the variance.
Correct.
So just clarify which.
Correct. I would like to proceed with the vote,
Okay.
but I'm letting the committee know that the variance is not something that we're hell bent on, given the comments by the fellow citizens here tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Please come forward. Yes, ma'am, please.
Sure.
This is just a question about the part of the property that you aren't planning on developing, which is my old house. What do you plan to do with it?
We plan to either restore it, exterior restoration, and either remarket the property for sale, or we would, if my wife is agreeable to it, we would consider moving it to it. And that's still not off the table.
Okay, there've been so many people that are asking why that property is falling apart on the outside, and y'all made no attempt to fix it.
Yeah.
But just you're all about developing the side yard.
We're all about getting the approvals on this first, and then we will pursue the house.
Okay, well, it is a historic property, and we are concerned, and there are a lot of people in this community concerned.
It is a beautiful house, and I will.
It is.
My intent would be to restore.
Well, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, ma'am.
Would be your yes. Pending the outcome of this meeting.
Sir,
Would be yours.
if you have a comment, please come forward. And let me just remind everyone that it's not a vote on the Doty house or the Duval house.
I'm David Flaw Jr. I'm not an attorney, I'm not my daddy. But it seems like all this is just an attempt to let the house fall in and develop the property into some kind of new neighborhood. And for you to allow that to happen in such a historic place, it's just not, it's not okay. Mr. Harry, you know better than that. You know my grandfather wouldn't allow that.
Yes, sir. The commission.
I was asking him.
Yes, sir. This is a hearing on the special exception and the variance, and I appreciate your.
Do not approve it.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other questions or comments? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion on the variance for bedrooms allowed?
I'll move that we deny variance A on the, for the request for variance for bedrooms.
There is a motion to deny the variance. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of denial?
Aye.
All right. The variance is denied. That takes us to the special exception request for the RCID. Is there a motion on the special exception?
I'll move that we deny special exception B as provided in section 3582.
All right. There is a motion to deny the special exception. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of denial for the special exception? All opposed? All right, that takes us to case number 3031. This is the final case for this property. But the,
Yeah, I would imagine that would have to be.
yeah, withdraw
Give me
that one?
1 second.
Yeah. So while y'all are talking that over, I'll just say, since I think I was the only one that voted for the special exception, my reasoning behind that, which is that I think all of the comments about the integrity of the neighborhood, the value of the Doty Duval house are all on point. I do think that the traffic issue is a tricky one in the sense that having people move closer to the attractions in the city is not going to increase traffic as much as pushing people out on the perimeter so that they're all driving to those locations. It doesn't mean that traffic doesn't get worse, but I think all of the trends in our town right now are for more people moving to our town. I think as much as it may crowd some of our historic neighborhoods, we do need some more density. In this case, we're not granting the special exception, but I just wanted to explain my vote. Okay?
Because as far as the site plan review, we'd
Yes,
like
sir.
to withdraw that case.
Okay, thank you, sir. Case number 3031 is withdrawn. That brings us to a public hearing for case number 3032. Lonesome Oaks LLC has filed a request for a special exception as provided in section 2.6.7, traditional neighborhood business, dwelling unit density, ground floor residential for Village Station property located at Old Taylor Road. Let's give them just a minute.
Just give a minute
Yes.
and let the record reflect that Commissioner Milam's back in the room.
Yep.
Always.
All right, Ben?
Thank you. This property is located on the west side of Old Taylor, situated between the building that has Lapels and High Point Coffee, and that's to the south, and to the north is My Michelle Strip Building. The property is about 3.21 acres, and it was cleared after it was originally approved and for a site plan in 2013. The property was never developed. The applicant's proposing a mixed-use development. It contains 2 3-story buildings, about 85 residential units with approximately 8,500 square feet of commercial, leasing office, fitness center, and storage space. The applicant's requesting the special exception to allow residential on the ground floor of the development. The development proposal provides 4 leasable areas of the building for commercial tenants. It also provides the commercial leasing office space. And the area surrounding this development contains existing residential, including coffee shop, cleaners, hair salon, nail salon, restaurant, and a Dollar General. The proposal concentrates the proposed commercial elements along a plaza space in the interior of the site between the 2 buildings, and staff believes that the proposal sufficiently provides commercial opportunities for the development proposal. Staff recommends approval of the requested special exception with 2 conditions of approval: that it's subject to the application as submitted, and that should building permits not be issued within 18 months, then this approval will expire. And of course, this goes along with the next case.
Thank you, Ben.
Yep.
Questions for Ben or for the applicant? No. Any questions? Anyone from the audience that would like to speak on this case? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion on case number 3032 for the special exception for dwelling unit density, ground floor?
I'd move that we grant the special exception
There's a motion to grant
with
special,
the 2 recommendations.
with the staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. That takes us to case number 3033. Lonesome Oaks LLC has filed a request for site plan approval for Village Station property at the same location.
Same location, same 3.21 acres, the, same situation where 2 buildings, 3 stories, 85 residential units, 8,400 square feet of commercial space. I do want to point out that according to the tax assessor, it appears that 2 properties, the property on the north end where My Michelle's and then the building on the south end, those seem to have been sold off, which is a subdivision that did not go through a subdivision process. So as a condition of approval, we've included that before any permits were to be issued, that they would have to have a subdivision for 3 lots. The use, as we discussed, and was the subject of the last case, it's residential, it's mixed use, has leasable space. There's 45 one-bedroom units, there's 42 bedroom units. There is a limitation of not to exceed 50% one-bedroom units. They have just, I think, 53%, just under 53%. They did request the director to make a waiver within the 10% waiver requirement that we have, and I did grant that. The proposal does comply with the parking requirements. 172 is required, 179 is being provided. The building height is in compliance with the max height for the district. The architecture and building materials, the sidewalks and connectivity, and the landscaping and tree mitigation provisions all comply with the land development code. Engineering did provide comments related to traffic and access, sidewalks, water, sewer, and utilities, and stormwater management. And therefore, staff recommends approval with the 7 conditions listed in the staff report.
Thank you, Ben. Questions from the commission?
Is there any, I know this nice gentleman right there asked them to be quiet, but I don't think they realize how much it echoes in those hallways. Hollis, do you mind? Thank you. Sorry, Ben.
That's all right.
Jeff, I'm gonna go your way.
I have a quick question about the stormwater management. There was an existing stormwater management plan in place, and then it talked about that there was the same amount of impervious coverage. I mean, is this essentially saying that there was already plans for a building to be there, and so
Yes, so the original plan, when the site was originally built with Faulkner Flats, it was designed with a certain plan for the commercial frontage that's being developed now. That changed in 2014, or 17, 14 or 17, there was another plan submitted. The current owner had to go in and make some revisions to the stormwater detention pond that was there. Those were made. What was proposed was never built. So now we're here again with a different one. So what the city asked me to do was, do we have more or less hardscape? So what I did was an analysis for what was approved and what was the stormwater detention pond was modified in 2014. So what we have now is less hardscape than what was proposed when it was modified in 2014.
okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? Anyone from the audience wish to speak on this case? All right. If not, is there a motion on the site plan?
I'll move to approve, subject to the 7 staff conditions.
I have a motion to approve, subject to staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, site plan is approved.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Our next case is case number 3034. JWM Development LLC has filed a request for a preliminary and final subdivision plat for Fallen Oaks subdivision for property located at 427 North 16th Street. Kate?
Okay, the applicant seeks preliminary and final plat approval to divide the existing 2.21 acre lot into 2 lots to create the Fallen Oaks subdivision. The property currently has a single family home on site, which will be subdivided onto lot 1, which will be around 0.76 acres. Lot 2, which is around 1.44 acres, is the site of the proposed RCID. And I will note that at the December 2023 meeting of the commission, the applicant received a retaining wall variance and a special exception to locate the RCID on this site. Lot 1 will continue to have access and be entered off of North 15th Street, while Lot 2 will access North 16th via a new drive to be built as a part of the RCID project. The minimum lot size in TSR, traditional suburban residential, is 7,500 square feet, and both proposed lots exceed this minimum. Engineering provided comments on access, water and sewer utilities, and stormwater management, and staff is recommending approval of the requested plat with 7 conditions as listed in the staff report.
Thank you, Kate. Questions from the commission?
Oh, John Granberry is the engineer. He's on the line if anyone has questions for him.
John, do you have anything you'd like to say?
No, I'm good.
Thank you, sir. Questions from the commission?
I did have one on engineering comments under site development access. That third paragraph says there's also a gap area of property around some portions of the subdivision that also remain in question as to ownership. Did that get straightened out?
I'm unaware of these, and I'm unaware of overlapping the property lines.
That did get addressed and taken care of. They quit claim deeds, and I sent in those quit claims as well as part of the submittal, this last submittal, to clear all that gap in those previous property boundary issues. So that all has been addressed.
They're under review. The deeds that John Granberry submitted are under review. I'll clarify the gap area referred to.
Additional questions? All right. If there are no more questions, I'll entertain a motion for case number 3034 for preliminary and final plat recommendation for approval or denial.
I make a motion that we approve with the following 7 staff conditions.
Okay. Motion to approve subject to the staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? All right. That brings us to case number 3035. JWM Development LLC has filed a request for site plan approval for Fallen Oaks subdivision at the same site. Kate?
Okay, so same site, located on North 16th Street. It's in the Neighborhood Conservation Overlay and the North Lamar Historic District. The applicant is proposing to construct 7 units and an RCID on the property. The project was reviewed on a complimentary basis at the December 2023 meeting of the Preservation Commission. There were some changes requested by the commission to the plans, and the public hearing will be heard on January 22nd for that COA. The changes proposed are architectural, and they were limited mostly to the building elevations, in particular to Building 3, so that's not going to affect the site plan for the project, other than that they will need that COA to move forward. The 7 detached dwelling units are all 2-story structures with garages. While the floor plans and architecture of the proposed units vary, they'll all contain 3 bedrooms. And they'll all access a centrally located drive to be constructed off of North 16th Street. The proposed site plan meets the requirements of the Land Development Code related to use and parking, coverage, and building height. The architecture and building materials will be reviewed by the Preservation Commission, but meet the requirements of the code. The proposed development features sidewalks along North 16th Street as well as in front of the development, and the proposed plans meet the tree mitigation requirements as well as the landscaping requirements of the code. The engineering department provided comments about site development and access, water and sewer and utilities, as well as stormwater management, and staff is recommending approval of the site plan with 8 conditions listed.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the site plan? Anyone from the audience that would like to speak on the site plan? All right, if there are no comments or questions, is there, yes, sir?
I've got a quick question. Construction and I was trying to see if I can answer myself real quick, but before we close out here. As far as like the construction vehicles, is there gonna be enough space on the site to park where they don't have to park on the road and block up the street right here? That's a recurring problem for all these projects. These guys, they park on the street and block up the whole road. Nobody can get through. It's not a busy thoroughfare, but.
Probably for the first few, but for the last couple, it'll probably be tight. I mean, as with any infill project.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love some specificity as far as last few. I mean, last half the time, or.
If we sell all 7 of them next week, we're gonna build all 7 of them at one time. If we build two, we're gonna start, guaranteed we're gonna start 2. So if we start 2, then there's not gonna be any parking issues, but if we're building all 7 of them at one time, there's gonna be parking issues. Be a lot more people there. And typical construction, I mean, I can sit here and tell you that they're not gonna park on the road, but those guys they do whatever they wanna do when they wake up every morning. And they don't.
You control the money, I'm pretty sure you make them listen.
Right, I can tell them all over the face, but they only listen to me on Friday mornings.
Sounds like a fixable problem.
All right. So,
anyway, that's my question. I mean, it's an overall concern, just in every project. I mean, it's very frustrating when there's an entire place for everybody to park and they're out there on the street, you know, like, get over here on the dirt where you're working. Anyway, that was my question. So thanks for answering the best you could.
can we please try to limit off-site parking?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Is there a motion on the site plan?
I'll move to approve, subject to staff conditions.
We have a motion to approve the site plan subject to the staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor? All right. Site plan is approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our next case is case number 3036. The Pearl at Oxford Commons LLC has filed a request for a special exception as provided in section 5.6.1.3 building step back for property located at Commonwealth Boulevard and Sisk Avenue. Ben?
Thank you. This proposal's for Lot 5 of the Oxford Commons Phase 1 subdivision, which was amended by the Mayor and Board of Aldermen in February of 2023. The property is about 2.34 acres. It's on the east side of Commonwealth. It's just north of Sisk Avenue. If y'all remember the entertainment development and the Pearl Phase 1, we're talking about the piece of property that's in between it. So the corner, it's right in between the corner and the northern portion here. The property's zoned, well, it's actually planned unit development, as y'all know, and its underlying zoning is suburban center. The PUD data table provides for 200 residential units in this portion of the Oxford Commons and a total of 75,000 square feet. Furthermore, condition number 9 of the PUD document indicates that ground floor residential is allowed by right when at least 25% of the allotted non-residential development is used within the tract. This requirement has been satisfied with the Commons at Oxford Commons. As y'all remember, last year the applicant was approved for the Pearl Phase 1, consisting of 108 3-bedroom units and 9 total buildings. The proposal also included a clubhouse with amenities that included a pool, gym, and a separate pool house, and that's well under construction if you've driven by there. So they're well underway there. The applicant's now proposing Phase 2 of the Pearl. It consists of 2 4-story buildings, Building B and Building C. Building B contains about 6,700 square feet of commercial space on the ground floor with a total of 35 residential units on 4 floors. And Building C has about 2,500 square feet of commercial space on the ground floor with 36 residential units on 4 floors. So in this instance, the applicant's requesting a special exception and some relief from the step back provision. Our code dictates that for every foot of when you're above 3 stories, so on the 4th floor, for each foot that you go up, you have to go back 1.2 feet. And this is an attempt to create more of a human scale. So buildings that you might think of that are built closer to the road that don't have that step back provision can can be, they loom over the top of you. An example of that was the Uncommon Oxford building, and that was this provision was put in to provide some relief there. However, this site's much different than the Uncommon Oxford site because of the location of the building is considerably back from where the public realm is, where people would be walking on the sidewalk. And so there already is a human scale there. It's not right on top of the sidewalk. It doesn't loom over the top of you. And therefore, the applicant is requesting this special exception because of that. Staff believes that that this proposal and the architecture does present architectural variety, and the distance between the building and the edge of the public right-of-way realm help maintain that human scale, which is the intent of the provision, and staff recommends approval of this requested special exception.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions about the step back? Anyone from the audience that would like to speak on this?
I do see the architect back there, and Paul Koshinin is on the phone.
All right. If there are no questions or comments, is there a motion on the special exception for the step back?
I'd move that we grant the special exception.
There's a motion to grant the special exception. Were there staff conditions? No.
Yeah, there are. None of them, Blake.
No.
No.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor? All right. The special exception is granted, and that takes us to the site plan for the Pearl.
Same piece of property, same two buildings. It's a mixed-use development, 108, I'm sorry, last year was 108. Now we have a total of, in Building B, 35 residential units, in Building C, 36, total of 71. The development proposal fits within the requirements of the PUD for this tract. So we are still within the bedroom density that's allotted. We are still within the commercial development potential. The applicant, just received that special exception for the step back provision. Use and parking. We believe that the, you see the table that's here from a parking standpoint. We believe that the applicant has adequate parking for not only this phase, but also for the potential development of the entertainment center, the entertainment area that was previously approved, and that site plan has now expired. So there is still adequate parking. What is required is a total of 708 parking spaces between Pearl Phase 2, the Pearl Phase 1, the Commons, which is the office and the retail center, and there's 725 spaces. Now, there are already some spaces that are built, so there is some overage that's built here. I think we were at about 100. There's still about 100 still available for the future development of that corner where that entertainment area was previously considered. They're compliant with the lot coverage. They're compliant with the building height. Their architecture and building materials comply, as do the sidewalks and connectivity and the landscaping. Engineering provided comments on water, sewer, and utilities, stormwater management, and site development and access. Staff recommends approval with the 6 conditions listed in your report.
Thank you, Ben. The various units of the Pearl are all separate lots, correct?
They're not necessarily. There are 3 separate lots.
Okay. So my question is going towards the parking and whether the numbers work out in aggregate, but I didn't see mention of any shared parking agreement that would run with the lot.
Yeah, I believe the shared parking agreement was originally established with the initial development of this site, and Paul Koshinin could speak to that, but I believe that that was all factored into the covenants, especially as the developer developed all 3 of these sites.
Okay. Paul, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, that's correct. The shared parking has already been addressed by the covenants that are dictating the development of the 4 lots out there. It's really 3 developed lots plus the regional detention pond. But shared access and shared parking has been addressed by that.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Are there other questions?
Ben, you mentioned 6 staff conditions. I just want to make sure I'm looking at the right thing. I've only seen 5.
Okay, I'm sorry if you only see 5. I've got 6. The approval is for the site plan as submitted. Number 2 is any commercial, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry, there's 5. My condition number 2 is no longer there.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Other questions? Additional comment from the audience? All right, if there are none, I will entertain a motion on the site plan for the Pearl at Oxford Commons, Phase 2.
I'll make a motion to approve with the following 5 staff conditions.
Motion to approve the site plan with the 5 conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, the site plan is approved. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.